In a quiet little town, nestled between rolling hills, lived a man named Arthur. He wasn't a mayor, a doctor, or a celebrity. He was the owner of a small, humble grocery store called Arthur's Provisions. The shop wasn't fancy. Its wooden floors creaked, and the shelves were stocked with simple, everyday goods. But Arthur's shop had something that no other store for miles around could boast: an unshakable foundation of trust. Arthur was a man of simple principles. He believed that honesty wasn't just the best policy, it was the only policy. If a customer accidentally overpaid by even a single coin, Arthur would chase them down the street to return it. If a batch of apples was slightly less fresh than he'd like, he'd tell his customers up front and offer them a discount. He never exaggerated, never upsold, and never made a promise he couldn't keep. Some people called him foolish. Arthur, his friend, a traveling merchant named Silas, would often say, "You could be so much richer. Mark up your prices a little. Don't point out the small flaws. That's just how business is done." But Arthur would just smile politely and shake his head. "My wealth isn't measured in the coins in my register, Silas. It's measured in the trust of my neighbors." One year, a harsh winter descended upon the town. Snow fell relentlessly, blocking the roads and cutting off supply routes. Panic began to set in. The larger stores in the next town over immediately tripled their prices for essentials like flour, oil, and candles. People grumbled, but they had no choice but to pay the exorbitant rates. Word spread that Arthur's Provisions still had some stock left. A crowd of worried townspeople gathered outside his door, bracing themselves for the worst. They expected him to follow suit, to capitalize on their desperation. When Arthur opened the shop, the first person to the counter, a young mother named Clara, asked nervously, "Arthur, how much for a bag of flour?" Arthur looked at his ledger, did a quick calculation, and named a price. It was the exact same price it had been a month ago. A hush fell over the crowd. Clara was stunned. "But, Arthur, everyone else is charging a fortune. You could make so much money right now." Arthur looked around at the familiar, anxious faces of his customers, his friends, his neighbors, and "What good would that money do me?" he asked gently. "If I took advantage of you in your time of need, I would lose something far more valuable than a few extra coins. I would lose your trust. And what would I be then? Just a lonely man with a heavy purse." He continued, "We're all in this together. I'll sell what I have at a fair price until it's gone. We will share what we have, and we will get through this." A wave of relief and gratitude washed over the crowd. That day, Arthur didn't just sell groceries, he sold hope. He reinforced the bond that held their small community together. When spring finally arrived and the roads cleared, something remarkable happened. Silas, the traveling merchant, returned to town. He saw that the big, flashy stores were struggling. People remembered how they had been treated and actively avoided them. But Arthur's Provisions was busier than ever. Customers from neighboring towns, having heard the story, were now making the extra trip just to shop there. They didn't just come for the fair prices, they came for the feeling of security. They came because they knew the man behind the counter was honest. They could send their children to the store with a note and a handful of coins, knowing they would be treated fairly. They could ask for his recommendation and know it was genuine. One afternoon, Silas sat with Arthur on a crate outside the bustling shop. He watched as customer after customer left with a smile, often stopping to chat with Arthur for a moment. "I don't understand it, Arthur," Silas admitted, shaking his head in disbelief. "I trade all over the country, I follow all the rules of business, and I barely scrape by. You break all the rules, and you're thriving." Arthur placed a hand on his friend's shoulder. "I only follow one rule, Silas. Treat people with honesty and respect. You see, the coins you make on a single dishonest sale are temporary. They're spent and gone. But the trust you earn from a single honest act, that pays dividends for a lifetime. It builds relationships. It builds a community. It builds a reputation that no amount of money can buy." He gestured to his busy little shop, the sound of laughter and friendly chatter spilling out the door. "This," Arthur said with a warm smile, "this is my fortune. The trust of these good people is the realest wealth a person can own. It doesn't fluctuate with the market, and it can't be stolen. It only grows." Silas finally understood. He saw that Arthur wasn't just a shopkeeper. He was the heart of the town. His honesty was the glue that held them all together, creating a richness that went far beyond money. The story of Arthur and his little shop became a local legend. A simple yet powerful reminder passed down through generations that, in business, as in life, the most valuable currency we can ever possess is trust. Thank you so much for watching. If this story resonated with you, please consider liking this video and subscribing to our channel for more tales that inspire and uplift. We appreciate your support more than you know. Until next time,